Hello, good evening, and thanks for your time. This is News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Adesawe, Kanda, and Accra. Around the world, we're also streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. We first bring you the day's major news highlights. The Queen of Denmark, Her Majesty Margaret, says her visit to Ghana will boost trade relations and business opportunities between the two countries. She was speaking to a team of journalists at the Fredensborg Palace in Denmark. Former President John Dramani Mahama charged government officials to shun propaganda and exhibit leadership. Deputy Minister for Communications Vincent Sowadote says government has put in place new measures to arrest and prosecute those engaged in cyber fraud. He spoke to our reporter Johnson Techi in Bonohafo region after commissioning a community information center at Nkranza. And former President John Dramani Mahama has charged government officials to shun propaganda and exhibit leadership. He was speaking at the third The Coalition of Peace and Development in Bwem has kicked against any attempt to make the proposed Oti region larger than the traditional Bwem Krachi district. The coalition is again asking President Akufo-Addo to make Akan the capital for the new region to help fast-track development in the area. And Ghana is close to eradicating poliomyelitis, a disease that kills or cripples children for life. Director of Family Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaji, says continuous immunization has yielded positive results. Those were our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Up next is the big one. Welcome back. Now, former President John Dramani Mahama has charged government officials to shun propaganda and exhibit leadership. He was speaking at the third Unity Walk of the party in Cape Coast.
The Unity Walk is a campaign initiated by Kojo Bonsu, a former chief executive officer of the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. It has since been adopted by the party and already been held in some parts of the country as part of measures to galvanize support. The walk, which began at the Robert Mensah Stadium at Siudu, a suburb of Cape Coast, was patronized by former President John Dramani Mahama, former ministers and government appointees. Amid singing and dancing, the crowd walked through some principal streets of Cape Coast, the Starlet 91 road to Kotokraba, through to Tantre, Bofuedru and Ntin, and finally converged at London Bridge, where party supporters were addressed. Former President John Dramani Mahama called on party supporters to be patient and wait for the party to officially open nominations. He asked President Akufo-Addo to tell Ghanaians the reality and desist from propaganda. He said it is not enough for the High Commissioner to South Africa, Boateng, to apologize that should be shown the exit.
President Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, said, "We shall open the opportunities of this country to all Ghanaians, irrespective of your party or your ethnic affiliation." Do you remember he said that? So we did the revolution and he came to power. Now that the pigs are enjoying, they say some Ghanaians are more Ghanaian than others. I mean, something like this, you don't call the person to Flagstaff House, draft an apology letter for him and ask him to sign. You sack him at once.
President Mahama also urged the media to take the government on for its mistakes as it did to the NDC.
Right, sack him at once. Many have argued that former President Mahama actually has no justification to call for the head of the Ghana High Commission to South Africa, George A.C. Boateng. Joining us on the telephone lines now for further discussion on this is Senior Political Science Lecturer at the University of Ghana and Fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Professor Ransford Jampo. Good evening, Prof, and welcome to News at 10.
Hello.
Now, former President Mahama has justified his call for President Kufuor to sack A.C. Boateng with the resignation of former Roads Minister Jifar Tevor and the bus branding saga. Now, is it enough justification? And was it right for him to call for the head of the High Commissioner?
Well, I don't want to go into justifications. If former President Mahama is also calling for calling on the president to show A.C. Boateng the exit. I think I've also made similar, calls. I think that politicians who are not experienced, party apparatchiks and foot soldiers can always be pardoned, particularly when they are cautioned, when they make certain comments that are not supposed to be, make certain comments that are not so good, comments that hurt our effort to, unite as a nation, comments that are abusive. But if you have a very experienced politician and a seasoned statesman trying to advise then
Right, Prof. I think we're having challenges with your line. It will be grateful if you could reposition yourself a bit so we can hear you clear. We didn't hear the last part of a lot of what you said. Hello, sir. Right, Professor Jampo.
So if people are calling for his exit or his the need for the president, I support but as to whether we want to go into the justification of President Mahama, I don't think I'm interested in that. I mean, the most important thing is that the mandate was so wrong. Tomorrow would not be, we are told he's issued an apology, but given his stature, tomorrow will not be here. Such comments could easily plunge the nation into chaos and implosion, and we may not be here to listen to such apologies and all that. So I do not want politicians, particularly those who just exited power, to wade so much into this issue because of the tendency for their own challenges to neutralize or equalize or cancel out what has happened. Because I mean, they themselves, if you live in glass house, you live close to them, they themselves have issues. They themselves had similar issues that they couldn't handle properly. And so if they wade so much into it, then it politicizes the whole matter.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that despite the fact that the president is justifying that his party, when they were in power, his administration took X and Y measures in terms of similar instances, it's neither here nor there. So far as the comment of the ambassador is wrong, we must say it as it is. It is wrong.
If it is wrong, it is wrong. And more importantly, like I said, if you bring the views of the politician in, then there is always a tendency for people to resort to politics of equalization. They will also tell you that there were quite a number of people in your own administration that who could have been fired because of X, Y, Z that they did, but maybe you couldn't have the courage to do so. And so then it neutralizes the call that are being made for sanctions to be applied to Mr. Boateng. And I don't want that. So I mean, let's not look at the justification coming from former President Mahama. The point is that the elderly statesman grew terribly. He was not talking to party food soldiers. He was talking to people who are expected to be trained as future leaders. And the comments that he made were so discriminatory, and they ran contrary to the directive principles of state policy encapsulated in our constitution. And I think it's something that must not be countenanced.
Right, Professor Jampo, we're grateful for your time. Thank you extremely. Professor Jampo is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Political Science Department. Now, earlier on News 360, my colleague Alfred Akan spoke with senior political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Edward Brenya, on the NDC's Unity Walk. Let's hear that conversation again.
Former President John Mahama actually did confirm that a number of reforms being carried out by the NDC are part of initiatives to implement and recommendations by the Kwesi Boateng Committee. But then before we get into that, how does these unity walks indeed help in solving the problems, the kind of problems that the NDC is faced with what you have observed?
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening to every listeners of TV3. Yes, coming to the question that you posed, you realize that the NDC had suffered defeats that many of the supporters were not happy with. And after the defeat, we saw the backbiting, the blame game that went on within the party. So if we are seeing a form of activity that will rally and give some level of hope to those at the grassroots, of course, I think that NDC, in a way, is going to benefit by uniting the grassroots, projecting a sense of unison among the NDC, and give the hope that they can come together to fight for the presidency in 2020. So I think, yes, it does help in actually remobilizing the grassroots.
Those who hold dissenting views about this particular unity walk says that even though it involves a section of the rank and file of the party, the absence of certain key leaders and figures within the party is a clear dent on that effort that you're talking about, sir.
I mean, we can look at it from two angles. When we are talking about leaders, remember, the immediate person that actually took the NDC to the last battle was the president, the then president. He has quite a number of his appointees who are part of this unity walk. Of course, we can't run away from the fact that if indeed John Mahama wants to be the presidential candidate for 2020, this goes to expose John Mahama to the electorate. But if really we want to believe that the defeat was as a result of Jama and his appointees, and Jama and the appointees are actually leading this unity work, for many with the grassroots, it does send a sense of reuniting the grassroots. We can talk about the larger party, whether or not many in the larger party really support this unity work. But I think that as far as uniting the grassroots is concerned, it is actually getting to achieve that aim.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head there. Some have seen this more as a strategy by the former president to work his way back to the top. I mean, with what, for example, the people who were there today at the Unity Talks chanting that he should return. I mean, they will say this is more of a John Mahama-led unity walk than that which encompasses the rank and file of the party to reflect all other persons and the opinions.
Yes, we cannot run away from the fact that this is a John Mahama-led unity walk. He initiated that, but he's doing it in the name of the party. His alluded to the fact that it is part of the Kosiboche report. One thing that we cannot run away from is that the defeat of the NDC in the last elections, this set a big blow to the party and was more of a discouragement to many at the grassroots. So if the same presidential candidate that fought that battle is the one that is leading, whether it's intended to promote him, I think the central point here is reuniting the grassroots, re-energizing the grassroots. If at the end of that unity walk or that's re-energizing the grassroots, it goes to benefit Mahama, the NDC does actually benefit in that sense, because the important thing is actually energizing the grassroots. And I think that the unity walk is actually getting to achieve that.
Dr. Brenya, let's go into the Kosiboche report, which the NDC is keeping to its chest very, very closely and guarding it with a lot of vigor. Now, presidential hopeful of the NDC, Ekospi Gabra, says that that report should be distilled and portions made available to members of the party at all levels to avoid defeat in the next general elections, because if they do not know about what led to the defeat, they may end up repeating the same mistakes. Is it a recommendation you would attest to or back?
I think that I would want to look at the Kosiboche report from two angles. One, the first angle is that it was the management, the people that the NDC, the rank and file in the NDC voted for, that instituted this committee and try to look at some of the things that they did. So if you are looking at it from management point of view, it was meant for the managers to address some of the concerns that led to the defeat. But the other part that makes it quite unfortunate is that the way the NDC set up this committee, it looks as if that it was a fact-finding that would be made available to the NDC. We've heard a lot about people calling for the report to be released to the public. This was something for the NDC. If the NDC, the managers, I mean the elected officials, have found what they think that would help them and they are addressing it, I think that from management point of view, it is not wrong. However, because the NDC have kept to this report and allowed this report section to be leaked in the media, for which they come back to say that was not part of that is where I think it's a mistake, that if the NDC actually had released the report or a section that is vital to the electorate, they would have avoided allowing a section of the public to capitalize on that. But I don't see anything wrong with managers of an organization or an institution instituting a report that they can use to address some of the setbacks and actually keeping it to themselves so that they can address key sections of it that they think is necessary for addressing some of the things that it needs for is needed for managerial, management of the organization.
To watching news at 10, you can get interactive with us on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. We have more news for you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, after more than 50 years of existence, the Afia DA Primary School, an island community in Ada, lacks teachers. The situation has forced school authorities to combine some classes to address the shortfall. My colleague Solomon Menya has returned from the community and now reports.
Though it is a Saturday, this story is worth telling because this community has only one school, that is the Afia DA Primary School. This is supposed to be the KG block. A careful look inside shows that it is not in use because there are staffs packed in here. And the original plan for this block was for it to have two rooms, one housing the KG1s and then the other housing the KG2 pupils. But because of lack of funds, the project started by the community has stalled. They have 3 classrooms each in these 2 blocks, making 6 classrooms. Some classes have been combined in order for the teachers to be able to take care of these pupils. We have here the head teacher of the Afia DA Primary School, that is Tessia Emmanuel. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Let's see, what are some of the challenges? Why have you combined the classes, and which classes have you combined?
We've combined the classes because we are understaffed. And the classes combined are KG1 and KG2, P2 and P3, and then P5 and P6, because they are having only one teacher. The same teacher teaches them. So
don't you think this is affecting them academic-wise?
It's affecting them, really. It's affecting them.
If you say you are understaffed, what is the staff strength?
We have 4 trained teachers and 1 community teacher. Textbooks we have library books from some donors. The feeding program too is ongoing smoothly.
And what is the population of the school?
120.
Well, I am told that when they complete the primary level, they have to go to adjoining communities to continue the JHS and the rest. Is that the situation?
Yes, that's it. Because we don't have JHS here, they have to cross to the next community. That is either Alokpem or Pediatokope for their JHS. But Pediatokope is the same island. They can walk from this community to Pediatokope.
How many minutes?
About 30 to 40 minutes. We are appealing to the whole country and well-wishers if they can come to our aid.
For TV3 News, Seloma Menya, Aflive.
And the Coalition for Peace and Development in Boem has kicked against any attempt to make the proposed OT region larger than the traditional Boem Krachi district. The coalition is again asking the president to make Akan the capital for the new region to help fast-track development to the area.
The quest by inhabitants of northern Volta for the creation of a new region gained support 2016 when the 2 major parties, NDC and NPP, endorsed the call for an OT region. That notwithstanding, there are strong contentions over boundary and choice of a regional capital. For many watchers, an OT region must begin from the Gui area or even further. But the people of Boem think a whole new approach to the OT region aside existing landmarks would be problematic.
We are all aware that demarcations normally bring problems. If they add another area to the then Boem district, it is going to create demarcation problems. Again, there will be problem of allegiance. What it means is that the chiefs on those areas may decide that they will no longer pay allegiance to the Boemhini.
Speakers at the 13th Boem Congress agreed with the assertion.
We want to send a clear message to all that we, the people of the northern part of the Volta region, are no vessels, and that no other people can determine what is good for us.
The stance appears to have automatically ruled out the consideration of North Dai, Pando, Afajato South, Hohoi and even Biakoya districts in the new OT region.
I will use my office for us to lobby for justifying the oldest districts in the whole of Northern Volta to become the capital of this region.
The OT region will then be limited to the Nkwanta North and South, Krachi East, West, and Ichumuru, Akan, and the KJB districts.
What we need to do right now is also to make sure that we have land that we are going to provide to the government to put up other offices in the region. And so much as we are fighting to get the regional capital, we must prepare our human resource and then the material resource that is land.
Clearly, the decision lies in the bosom of government.
And that's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for making time. On behalf of the crew here, good night and enjoy the rest of the weekend.